Hi guys, just making a video in case you were having some sort of technology issues and in Zoom. Of course, please email us if that is the case, but we do want to make sure that you're able to learn and complete the work even in the cases of having Zoom issues. So we're posting the video to help with that. So watch this video as you do the Google form and work in your notebook, so that you can really understand and get the right answers. Okay, so first, in your notebook, copy the highlighted things, the aim, write your name, the date, copy the aim in your notebook, and we'll get started with the first question. You can copy the graph. You don't have to draw the exact thing, but draw it as best as you can. Make sure you're labeling the X and Y axis. So if you need a minute to copy and the video is going, just pause the video until you're ready to move on. So copy this, and we're gonna work on it together. So under the graph, copy the question and the options as well. Like I said, pause the video if you need time. So we talked about domain and range a little yesterday, so we're going to work on it more because it's a complicated topic. We want to make sure you're really getting it. So we said domain is all x values of a function. Okay, so you should have that definition from yesterday. If not, write it down somewhere. And this is the x-axis, right? So this is the x-axis, all the values on the x-axis for the graph, but all we're looking at is the function, right? So we want to know where the function starts and where the function ends. So what are on the x-axis? It starts here and it ends here. So yesterday we wrote using, you see the options, how they are? So we write it in terms of x, and we always start with the lesser value. So the smallest value on the x-axis that the function is part of is 4, right? So we would write that x is always greater than or equal to 4 in this graph, right? The function does not go past 4. So x, all the x values are greater than or equal to 4. So you see that the mouth of the graph of the greater than symbol is facing the x. So I always think you want to eat less M&Ms or more M&Ms. So it means it's more. So x is more or equal to 4. So what else do we know? We see here that it stops at 13. So it doesn't go past 13. So that all the x values are less than or equal to 13. So this means that the x values of this function are between 4 and 13. So that's what this sentence, this math sentence, tells us. So what option is that? It's this, right? Because it's not this, because this is talking about y. It's not this because this is 0. So this would say that all the x values are greater than 0. That's not true. And we're not talking about y again. So we know that the answer is 1. So on the Google form or on the worksheet on Google Classroom, just select option 1. And if you need time to copy, of course, just pause it. Now, go ahead and copy this graph as best as you can. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, just an idea of what's going on, the x-axis, y-axis, and x-axis. And again, the question and the options, so that you, in your notebook, we want you to follow along and copy. So it's asking about the domain again. So again, it's the x values of the function, right? So x goes to 0, and it goes here. So we did talk about the rectangle method in the aim. So for me, that's when we're talking about the domain n range. You draw a rectangle around the function. So you can see where the function is on the graph, right? So we don't need to, we'll use that again during range, but this will help you with domain and range. So it shows you where the y values are and the x values. So that's the rectangle method. So I'll do that with the next one because I want to just find the domain for this question. So like we said, the domain, the function here starts at 0. So part of it is 0. And it goes until, we have to see, this goes by 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So x is between 0 and 12. So again, I'm going to write is greater than or equal to, and is less than or equal to. So x is between 0 and 12. The x values for this function are all between 0 and 12. They are less than or equal to 0, and greater than or equal to 0, and less than or equal to 12. So you have to use this symbol. Because if you use just this symbol by itself, that means that 0 is not included. But we see that it is. So let's look. It's option 3. Because we're not talking about y, so we can cancel those. And the 1,000 and 1,500, there's no numbers on the x-axis that high. Those they got from the y-axis, and we're not talking about the y-axis. We're talking about domain is the x-axis. Okay, so option 3. So let's see, we're still talking about domain and domain. So this is a good opportunity to use the rectangle method. So I'm going to use green. I'll keep using red actually for the x values. So this, I'm just tracing a rectangle around the function. So the red is the x values, and the green is going to be the y values. So domain is the x values, right? So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -1, -2, -3. So it looks like the domain of this function, right? It goes, x is between -1 and +6. So that's how I write it, and I just put my symbols in after. So the domain is -1 and 6. So x is between -1 and 6. So that's my domain, and since we're using the rectangle method, we could find the range as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2. So the green lines, the reason I use that is because the function ends here on this side and ends here on this side. So this is the lowest that the function goes on the y-axis. Actually, this green dot that I wrote here, it doesn't matter for the range because it goes all the way up to here. So that's where I wrote the yellow. That's the highest that the function goes on the y-axis to 5, right? And then this is the lowest that it goes. So we always start with the least value. So what's the lowest value? -2. See that there? and the highest value, x is between it, and the highest value is positive 5. See, that's where the function, the highest the function goes. And we put, oh, I made a mistake here. We're talking about y with the range. So y is between -2 and 5. So the multiple choice part of this question just asked about the domain. So let's look at our options. -1, x is between -1. So first let's cross out all the y's because we don't need the y's. So x, the domain, is between -1 and 6. So that's option 1. Okay. So now we're talking about the range. So I'm going to change back to green just to keep the same color. We could use the rectangle method, but we just need the top and bottom of the rectangle, right? Because now they're asking us about range. And in case you didn't get the definition from yesterday, range is all y values of a function. So if you didn't get that definition from yesterday, write it down somewhere in your notebook. And now we're talking about the y-axis. So this point is the y-intercept at 60. We can look to see, does the function go lower than that? No. Right? This is the function. So this is what we're looking at. The function does not go lower than 60. Right? So we're going to put 60 here, just on the side, so we remember. Then I'm going to look at the function. It looks like this is the highest it goes. Let's double check. Does it go any higher? No. So this is, you know, a version of the rectangle method. We're just using the bottom and top. So the function does not go higher on the y-axis than 110. So y is between 60 and 110. And I just put my symbols here, which means y is less than or equal to 60. I mean greater than. I always get confused also. Y is greater than or equal to 60, and it's less than or equal to 110. So what is the question asking us? What is the range of the jogger's heart rate during this interval? So we have to look. It's not written the way that we're teaching you. They're asking us the range. So this is less formal. This is more informal what they're asking. So it's very easy. It's just it goes from 60 to 110. The jogger's heart rate in the interval, the 4-minute interval that they're asking, it goes from 0 to 110. So I'm going to do one more range question with you, and I think we'll leave the rest as your independent work. So just check what they're talking about. So they're asking about range. So we're talking about the y values. So again, I'm going to use the top of the rectangle method. I see that this is the lowest it goes, and this is the highest it goes. Lowest and highest. So the lowest is 0, and the highest is 100, and y is in between. All the y values are in between 0 and 100. Then I just go and put my symbols. So let's see, this is talking about x, so we can cross this out. We know that's not the answer, and we have found that 3 is the answer. So we know 1 is not, because it's talking about range. Okay, so go ahead and do the rest of the questions on your own. Check what it's talking about. They happen to all be asking about the range. So this is the y values. And try it on your own. If you need the video to help you, go ahead. If you need extra help, email us and we can make sure to go over it during class or send you an extra video.